The amazing moment my billionaire parents discovered their incredible granddaughter. Sarah stood in the musty attic, the scent of old pages and faded memories swirling around her. She had always felt like an outsider. Her students admired her vibrant teaching style, but the whispers haunted her, underscoring her humble beginnings versus the billion-dollar world of her estranged family. As a professor at Hastings Community College, she was proud of her achievements, yet she grappled with the judgment that came with the prestige of her family name. Clutching an old book that once belonged to her grandmother, Sarah's fingers grazed something hidden within its crumbling pages. Heart racing, she pulled out a weathered letter, its ink barely legible. Curiosity shifted into a sharp unease as she read. The familiar names within, her mother, her grandparents, were woven into a scandal that sent shockwaves through her. She discovered that her mother's legacy had been wrapped in shame, leading to her exile from a world of wealth and opulence. This revelation felt like a punch to the gut, intensifying her simmering internal conflict about family loyalty and personal achievement. Glimpses of old newspaper clippings swirled in her mind, revealing her mother as once a bright star. The last thing Sarah wanted was to be seen as another member of the family she so eagerly distanced herself from. Yet, her pulse surged with mixed feelings, a simmering resentment towards the privilege she never wanted, and an inexplicable pull toward the connection she lost. How had her mother's choices trapped her in this complex web of expectation and ambition? Could she ever escape the shadow? Just as Sarah's emotions threatened to consume her, a notification pinged on her phone. A message from her mother, the woman she hadn't spoken to in years. Nerves knotted within her. This was the last mess she had expected to face. Did her mother even care about the pain the past had inflicted? Or was this a new attempt to reel her back into the folds of the family she had fought to redefine herself against? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With her breath caught, Sarah returned to the letter. Was this her chance to confront the ghosts that haunted her family? The inner turmoil raged as she felt the weight of expectation wrapping around her throat. Should she claim the wealth that could give her the recognition she secretly craved? Alternatively, would holding on to her self-made identity betray the resilient woman she prided herself from? On becoming? In a gripping moment of anguish, Sarah paced, hands trembling. The photograph of her family, bewilderingly reminiscent of a distant life, felt like a talisman and a curse. How could she reconcile the love she desperately sought with the disdain she felt for their history? The battle waged on within, and the unresolved path stretched before her like a tightrope over an abyss. As she wrestled with the implications of her mother's reemergence and the letter's revelations, anxiety surged. Would embracing this fractured connection mean losing herself? With emotions swirling, Sarah stood on the precipice of her identity, questioning everything she had banked her life on. The reality loomed. Could she allow her family's turbulent legacy to dictate her future? Sarah gripped the letter tightly, its brittle edges digging into her palm as if anchoring her to the present. She felt the world around her fade, the attic's decaying walls and dust-covered memories dimming under the weight of her existential crisis. The message from her mother loomed like a specter in her mind, taunting her with the idea of rekindled ties. What would she even say? The duality of her emotions tangled her thoughts. On one hand, there was an irrefutable urge to confront her mother, to demand answers about the family's past, about the legacy intertwined with shame that she had inherited but never wanted. On the other, there was fear of being pulled back into a life she had disavowed, of losing the autonomy she had carved out in teaching and mentoring her students. A sensation prickled at the back of her mind, a whisper that perhaps this moment was less about her mother and more about Sarah herself. The letter in her hand was intoxicating, not an invitation back to wealth, but an unveiling of truths she had buried long ago. With a shaky breath, she unsealed the emotional vacuum she had created around her family. Was it time to step onto the tightrope spanning her past and future? Over the ensuing days, the letter's revelations stewed within her. Sarah's mind became a battleground. Questions multiplied. Who did she want to be? Was she destined to repeat her mother's pitfalls, or could she create her own narrative? Each evening brought a new clarity, and with it a realization. She hadn't lost herself. She had built herself from the ground up, and perhaps that was her greatest strength. Her students noticed the change. Where benign humor had once sparked easy conversations, now an earnest intensity colored her interactions. She was suddenly aching to impart not only knowledge, but also the importance of discovering one's roots, complexities, and the courage to confront them. In one of her evening classes, she found herself speaking freely, revealing her journey, even hinting at her family's unconventional history. As their eyes widened in realization and empathy, a tremor of doubt rumbled within her. Was this self-expression liberating or a betrayal? She carefully held her ground, caught between the desire to inspire and the fear of judgment. The turning point came unexpectedly during a late-night study session with her students. In a moment of candid vulnerability, she shared her struggles of identity. The room was thick with silence afterward. A silence filled not with judgment, but with understanding. One student, a bright young woman named Lisa, voiced a sentiment that struck Sarah square between her beliefs and fears. "Isn't it about owning who we are, even when it's complicated?" Lisa asked, her voice unwavering. As those words settled in, Sarah felt the tightrope sway beneath her. It was always about ownership. Ownership of her history, and that included the parts she detested. Maybe it was time to reach out to her mother. The next morning, amidst the chaos of her morning routine, she opened her mother's message. The typed words, understated yet laden with significance, begged for dialogue. Sarah's pulse quickened as she considered her options. Was she ready to uncover the truths that haunted her family, and more importantly, to see what they would reveal about herself? With her heart racing, she steadied her breath and stared at her phone, resolute. The time had come to face the roots of her identity, to confront the legacy she might have to unearth. But just as she moved to unlock her phone, another notification pinged, catching her attention. Her heart lurched with uncertainty. Could it be more than just her mother? Sarah hesitated, the phone resting heavily in her palm. What awaited her on the other side of either choice? With the remnants of doubt swirling inside, she was on the brink of a commitment that could redefine her entirely. The second notification was from a local university symposium, an invitation to speak about personal growth and education. The irony struck Sarah sharply. Here was a chance to delve deeper into her own growth while she faced a decision that could either empower or rob her. The internal conflict sent her mind racing. Was she ready to engage with her past while simultaneously sharing insights on defining her present? Her instinct was to reject the invitation and remove the distractions. Yet, she also recognized this could be a climactic moment of alignment. Officially addressing her journey could arm her with the clarity she needed when speaking with her mother. Faced with this crossroads, she quickly typed her acceptance. In the days leading up to the symposium, Sarah poured herself into her preparations. Each slide she created for her presentation resurfaced memories she had long tucked away. She examined moments of failure, pain, and wisdom that now felt like stepping stones toward her evolving identity. As she constructed her narrative, she realized that these experiences, once bottled up and hidden, had fostered resilience and compassion not just for herself, but for her students. During contiguous late nights, Sarah noticed a shift within herself. The traditional methods of teaching she had adhered to felt increasingly stifling. In their place, she envisioned creating a curriculum that explored the complex narratives behind personal histories. How could she equip her students with the tools to understand their own complexities? Her classroom erupted into passionate discussions about identity and belonging, and Sarah found herself transformed. Each debate stirred her resolve. She no longer merely imparted knowledge, but actively engaged with the powerful stories her students had to share. Subtle connections emerged between her lineage struggles and those of her students, each thread strengthening the tapestry of their collective experiences. Amidst this burgeoning community of dialogue, Sarah felt anticipation and hesitation fester alongside empowerment. This was not just teaching, it was an open invitation to confront the raw seams of her own history. Days passed rapidly, and soon the date of the symposium approached. Standing in front of her bathroom mirror, Sarah scrutinized her reflection. The woman staring back wore the confidence earned over years of courageously shaping her life. But that voice inside her head, echoing her mother's shadowy predictions, still whispered doubts. Would her revelations expose a deeper wound rather than inspire? At the symposium, the venue buzzed with anticipation. As Sarah walked on stage, she felt the spotlight illuminate not just her face, but her entire essence. It was now or never. The introduction blurred into the background when she began to speak about personal ownership and the bravery that accompanies facing one's truth. She spoke about her students' stories, drawing parallels to the intricate dynamics of her own. The audience listened intently, and she could sense the energy in the room shift, the tension dissolve into a collective understanding of vulnerability. Then, as she approached the pivotal moment of her own narrative, she faltered. Her mother's letter loomed in her mind, and suddenly it felt like the only audience member present was her. Would she summon the bravery to share parts of her past that still scared her? Just as she found her footing again, the familiar ringing from her phone disrupted her thoughts. Glancing at her notification, she saw it was her mother reaching out once more, a direct response to Sarah's silent contemplation. With her heart pounding, Sarah took a deep breath and knew she had two choices: continue her transformation by fully opening up to the audience, including her truth about her mother, or retreat into the safety of half-truths that would perpetuate her internal struggles. As she stood at that crossroads under the bright lights, one thing became undeniable: the moment of confrontation had arrived. The words hung in the air as Sarah's mind raced. The weight of her decision pressed heavily on her chest, the anticipation from the audience tinged with a palpable silence. She could almost hear her own heart beating, each thud a reminder of the courage it demanded to expose her deepest truths. The symposium had offered her a platform not just for her ideas on education, but as a mirror reflecting the complexities of her own history. What if she allowed herself to speak openly? Would she actually help others, or would she merely open wounds that had barely begun to heal? The tension built inside her, a discordant mix of fear and determination. As she faced the audience, she understood that her journey was intricately connected to theirs. Each individual sat before her with stories of their own, stories searching for validation and recognition. The thought of retreating felt like a betrayal, not only to herself, but to the students who had inspired her to confront her past. The hesitation that clung to her faded slightly as an unharbored realization struck her: vulnerability carried power. If she opened up, she might not only reveal her struggle, but potentially inspire others to confront their own challenges. Drawing on this newfound resolve, Sarah adjusted the papers in her hand, flipping to the slide that captured the essence of her dilemma. The image of her younger self stared back at her, a child grappling with expectations that felt insurmountable. She began to speak, her voice steady despite the quivering within. "I grew up in a household where success meant more than accolades, it meant being perfect." Each word felt liberating as she released the thoughts that had lingered too long in silence. "I learned quickly that mistakes could dismantle the very foundation I was expected to build my life upon." The audience leaned in closer, her honesty drawing them into her narrative. Fear transformed into connection. The glimmer of understanding in their eyes emboldened her. She ventured into the specifics of her past struggles, her relationship with her mother, intertwined with themes of expectation, disappointment, and ultimately self-acceptance. The words flowed easily, finding life in her truth. Fear of failure has often paralyzed me, but standing here today, I realize that our flaws, our fears, can illuminate the way for others. She paused, scanning the room and realizing the ripples of authenticity were echoing back at her. As she engaged with her narrative, Sarah found herself reclaiming power over her story. The introspection didn't just serve her, it resonated within the hearts of the audience, igniting a desire for their own honesty. The atmosphere felt charged, an electric energy pulsing with the acknowledgement that none of them were alone in their struggles. After her presentation, as she stepped off the stage, the exhilaration and vulnerability coalesced into an astonishing clarity. She understood that this encounter had not only deepened her connection with the audience, but also shifted her approach to teaching. She could no longer rely solely on rigid structures. Her students needed the freedom to explore their narratives. Back in her classroom, Sarah made a decisive shift. She transformed the lessons from static subjects into dynamic explorations of identity and self-discovery. Each week, she encouraged her students to unearth their stories, honoring their individual journeys in an environment that centered understanding over judgment. However, as she embraced this transformative path, another message appeared on her phone. It was from her mother again. The timing felt uncanny, and a knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. What more could her mother have to say? Faced with the prospect of another conversation fraught with tension, Sarah sensed that she was about to plunge back into her personal conflict head first. What would her mother expect after her public unveiling of truth? Was the potential to reconcile worth the risk? As the same familiar doubts crept back, Sarah could feel the stakes rising. She knew she was poised on the edge of another important revelation. Would this conversation lift her higher, or would it send her spiraling down? The moment had come. Once again, she stood before a pivotal choice. In the quiet solitude of her classroom, Sarah felt the weight of her phone in her hand. The message from her mother loomed ominously in the backdrop of her recent triumphs, threatening to overshadow her newfound clarity. Should she respond, or should she let it linger, an unresolved thread tugging at her consciousness? Her mind raced through possible scenarios. Each time she entered into dialogue with her mother, it felt like treading a familiar minefield. The prospect of a simplistic conversation felt unpredictable and daunting. Had her mother been watching the symposium? Did she understand the depths of Sarah's revelations, or would the boundaries still be suffocatingly entrenched? Sarah's thumb hovered over the screen, a moment of indecision palpable. This wasn't just another conversation, it was a crossroads. Responding could ignite further conflict, but remaining silent could perpetuate a cycle of avoidance, something she was striving to overcome. She had just embraced vulnerability, stepping out of a darkness she had clung to for far too long. Taking a deep breath, she resolved to cultivate her voice by responding directly, her fingers deftly typing. "I'm open to talking. What's on your mind?" The miniaturized version of her courage sent a jolt of energy through her. It wasn't just about this conversation. It signified her commitment to not retreating into the shadows cast by another person's expectations. While waiting for a response, Sarah glanced around her classroom. Walls decorated with student artwork, a chalkboard streaked with messages of past lessons, the echoes of laughter and discovery still humming in the air. It was a sanctuary she had molded into a space of acceptance, where each student's narrative was cherished, just like her own had been that day. But she was still unsettled, her mind a torrent of anxiety. Could she extend that same acceptance to her mother? What if the conversation veered into old habits, regretful accusations, and disappointment? Despite knowing she needed to embrace uncertainty, the fear simmered beneath her resolve. A notification broke the silence, her mother's response arriving faster than she anticipated. "I watched your presentation. I didn't know this side of you existed. Can we meet?" The simplicity of the words was both a relief and a trigger. The invitation carried an unexpected weight, a process of seeking connection structured by an old relationship template. The question emerged suddenly. Did she have the emotional bandwidth to engage? She could already feel old wounds reemerging, the dialogue involving her history rather than her new. But hadn't she made a commitment to face her truth, to confront adversity with resilience? Days passed with her mother's message lingering, unanswered. Friends noticed the change in Sarah, the vibrancy she carried dimmed by unresolved tensions. During lunches filled with laughter, she felt the nagging ache of self-doubt creeping back. Gradually, Sarah found herself analyzing her fears through new lenses. What if the meeting was an opportunity? What if they could step beyond their pasts, shaping a renewed understanding? The thought was electrifying, altering the contours of her anxiety. Cultivating such hope required acceptance of a new narrative, one that she could shape actively rather than passively absorb. It also meant facing potentially painful dynamics. Could she articulate her expectations and establish boundaries without succumbing to old humiliations? That afternoon, she scribbled in her journal, pouring her tangled feelings onto the page. The act was an exercise in self-definition, preparing her for a conversation that could pivot their relationship in unforeseen directions. Finally, she typed back, "Let's meet. I'll come by your office this Friday at noon." The hesitancy from earlier dwindled, replaced by a sense of vitality and clarity. This was not just a meeting, it was a manifestation of growth. She would re-engage with her mother on her terms, a chance for dialogue rather than conflict. Smiling, Sarah tucked her phone into her bag, embracing the anticipation that danced in her chest. The past could not control this moment. She was determined to reclaim her narrative. But as she prepared for Friday, she couldn't shake the feeling that surface-level discussions would not suffice. Deep truths lay ahead, waiting to be uncovered in a labyrinth of history. The clock ticked towards the meeting. What unspoken revelations lurked in her mother's heart? Would this encounter deepen their connection or ignite the flames of unresolved strife? No matter what happened next, Sarah felt an unshakable conviction. She was ready to confront whatever awaited them. As Friday approached, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The time spent writing in her journal had cleared some of the fog, allowing her to touch upon insights that felt foreign yet liberating. What she viewed as a terrifying confrontation was subtly evolving into an opportunity for mutual vulnerability. Could they each reveal their truths, and could openness provide a bridge over their troubled past? The morning of the meeting, she donned a tailored blazer, the fabric smoothing over her shoulders like a protective armor. It felt symbolic. This was not a courtesy visit, but a pivotal moment in her life. As she looked in the mirror, she scarcely recognized the woman staring back, someone who dared to challenge the patterns set forth by previous interactions. Her hand lingered on her reflection, silently affirming that she would uphold her boundaries. Sitting in her car, she ran through potential statements, rehearsing her intentions silently. "I want to create a space for honesty," she repeated under her breath. She needed her mother to understand that her history would not dictate their future. But fragmentation within her still flickered, fears still entwined with hope. A sharp memory intruded, a childhood moment when her mother's disapproval had been a searing brand. How easy it could be for her mother to slip into that old role again. The fear of that dynamic re-emerging squeezed her heart. Arriving at the office building, Sarah steadied her breath, scanning the polished lobby. She would not let the external world undermine her internal resolve. With each step toward the elevator, she mentally prepared for the conversation ahead. Would her mother acknowledge the years of their disconnection? Would Sarah's newfound voice actually shift the dynamic? Or would it be like entering an echo chamber, reverberating with old conflicts? The doors opened to confront a familiar yet distant warmth. The office exerted a professional polish that seemed to stifle personal connection. Her mother was already seated, rifling through papers, the weight of history hanging heavily between them. Upon spotting Sarah, the older woman's expression fluctuated, revealing a flash of vulnerability that caught Sarah off guard. "Sarah," her mother said, standing abruptly, a slight tremor in her voice. "Thank you for coming." The simplicity of the greeting ignited something within. This wasn't just a formality. It was an acknowledgement that both had traveled a path riddled with complications. Sarah nodded, taking a seat across from her, the desk acting as a buffer that felt both reassuring and constricting. As conversation commenced, Sarah discovered her mother's nerves echoed her own. Words exchanged in a typically rehearsed script fluttered and twisted awkwardly. The dialogue began with small talk, mentioning the weather, Sarah's recent projects, her mother's work tasks. It felt as if they were constructing a dam against deeper currents of emotion. Once the pleasantries began to dissolve, Sarah made her move. "Mom, I watched our last conversations slip into silence, and I don't want that for us anymore. I'm trying to understand who we are now, beyond what's happened in the past." There was a tangible shift as Sarah finally voiced her unfiltered thoughts. She felt empowered yet vulnerable, as if she were laying pieces of herself bare. Her mother's gaze faltered, and for a brief moment, a flicker of recognition passed over her features. "I didn't realize how much the past weighed on you." The admission hung in the air, strange and new. Sarah pressed on. "I'm ready to talk about it if you are." What transpired next was a tumultuous wave of revelations. The two shared experiences from their lives beyond the confines of their fractured relationship. Old wounds resurfaced, but were met with acknowledgement rather than defensiveness, leading them into conversations that had never existed before. As the meeting progressed, Sarah articulated her need for boundaries more clearly than ever. She felt a wave of strength building inside, each word distilling years of complication and fear into a newfound courage and an identity crafted not by past resentment, but by action. Yet, as they peeled back layers of deceiving tranquility, an underlying conflict began to emerge. Would her mother truly grasp the depth of Sarah's experiences, or would she revert back to her old patterns when faced with harsh truths? The clock ticked on, filling the charged silence until Sarah's phone buzzed with a notification. The message glowed ominously, catching her off guard in the throes of vulnerability. The past collided with the present. Was it another attempt at control or a plea for connection? Sarah's heart raced. She leaned forward, feeling the tension wrapping around her like a dark cloud. What revelation awaited her just beyond the surface of this moment? She couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the beginning. What lay beyond this newfound connection? Would they transform the narrative of their relationship, or would old dynamics threaten to undo their progress? The soft buzz of her phone felt like an electric shock that rippled through the room, stark against the backdrop of their budding exchange. Sarah blinked, initially trying to focus on her mother's expression. Yet, the message drew her attention like a moth to a flame. She could feel her pulse quickening as she grabbed the phone and glanced at the screen. It was from her father, a brief note that read, "We need to talk. I'm in town." The sudden intrusion sent a jolt of anxiety through her. Just when she felt a fragile thread of connection forming with her mother, a symbol of her tumultuous past had reemerged. Was this an announcement or a warning? Her mind swirled with questions. Would he side with her mother? Would the old hierarchy threaten her mother's realization of accountability? What if this was just another attempt to maintain control over their lives? She forced her gaze back to her mother, who seemed to sense the shift in energy. The quiet intensity of their conversation had turned fragile again, the air growing thick with potential rejection. Encouragement stood on one side, while the specter of family expectations loomed on the other. This moment, this realignment, could it withstand the resurgence of her father's gravity? "Everything okay?" her mother asked, the concern saturating her voice. Sarah set her phone on the desk, face down, and took a deep breath. "I just got a message from Dad. He's in town and wants to talk."
The words hung between them, pulling back the curtain of vulnerability with a chilling breeze. Her mother's expression tightened, reminiscent of the striving dynamics they had just begun to dismantle. "What do you think he wants?" In that moment, Sarah realized how completely her past still controlled the present, despite her attempts to forge new pathways. "I don't know," she admitted, "but this feels monumental. I can't keep avoiding it, not after everything we've just discovered about each other." "Are you prepared for that conversation?" her mother questioned, an edge creeping into her tone. The question reverberated through Sarah. She considered the stakes, the potential for rejection, the weight of unspoken grievances, and the possibility of letting her parents dictate her emotional landscape yet again. But what if this time she found a strength within her that wouldn't buckle under familial pressures? Just as quickly as doubt crept in, determination followed. "I have to be prepared. For too long, I let fear dictate how I engage. Now I want to step fully into my life. If I can redefine my relationship with you, why not with him?" Her mother's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of approval crossing her face. "You're changing, Sarah. I see that." With resolution building inside her, Sarah leaned forward, pushing through the anxiety that threatened to hold her back. "This conversation with Dad, perhaps it's not just for him, but for me. It could redefine everything." A tremor of hope washed over her. Maybe this meeting could shatter more than just her history with her mother. Perhaps it would unveil deeper truths about herself and the family dynamics she had once believed were unchangeable. As she stood to gather her things, Sarah felt a sense of purpose stirring. She was no longer just responding to life's script, she was crafting her own narrative. However, as she turned back to her mother for one last affirmation, a tremor of uncertainty quivered in her core. Would she have the strength to confront her father? Would he acknowledge her liberation, or would he attempt to drag her back into the currents of manipulation? With resolve but unease, Sarah stepped out of the office, ready to face her father. Her world felt both terrifying and thrillingly undefined. As she made her way to her car, the weight of the impending conversation loomed larger than any obstacle she had faced thus far. Every step pulled her forward into the unknown, one that promised connection and challenge in equal measure. With the door of her past swinging wide open, the real question persisted. Was she ready to embody the woman she had become, and could she withstand the storm that awaited her? The moment loomed large. Only time would tell if her evolution would hold against the tempest. As Sarah slid into her car, the leather seat felt foreign beneath her, as though it were the weight of expectation pressing down against her. The familiar hum of the engine couldn't mask the chaos swirling in her mind. She gripped the steering wheel, feeling its cool, hard surface reflect her racing heartbeat. The drive to the cafe where she arranged to meet her father was hazy, her thoughts clouded by questions that congested her mind. What would he say? What was his game plan? After years at the mercy of his whims, how could she ensure this meeting would be different? Each turn brought her closer to him, yet pulled her deeper into a spiral of anxiety as she replayed their past, a past filled with demand and control, riddled with misunderstandings and resentment. But now, she had her mother's support flickering like a lighthouse, guiding her through the tumult of emotions, buoying her resolve. Arriving at the cafe, Sarah rebelled against the usual rush of panic that nipped at her heels. The scent of fresh coffee wafted through the air as she stepped inside, offering a semblance of comfort. The walls were plastered with posters, vibrant and alive, artifacts of creativity. Sarah eyed a mural depicting a phoenix rising from ashes, its bright hues igniting something within her. Perhaps it was a visual reminder. It could symbolize her own emergence from the confining ashes of her family history. She settled into a corner seat, the location carefully chosen, both for a sense of security and visibility. Time stretched as she waited. Each tick of the clock amplified her heartbeat. Her father had always torn apart her stability, unleashing chaos whenever he chose to. Yet now, she marveled at the woman she had grown into, a woman who refused to cower or retreat into despair. When he arrived, tall and imposing, as familiar as he was once menacing, the tension in the air shifted. The instant they locked eyes, she felt a flash of vulnerability pierce through her defiance. His gaze bore into her, seeking the little girl who once melted under his scrutiny. But there she was, towering over that child, confronting the man who had controlled her narrative for too long. "Sarah," he greeted, the hint of surprise in his voice tinged with that old, dominating edge. "Dad," she replied, focused and steady. Silence stretched, crackling with unspoken words between them. She could sense his curiosity mixing with wariness. The initial small talk felt scripted, awkward even, as if they were two actors enacting a scene neither had prepared for. Her father took a sip of his coffee, his gaze dissecting her while she donned her armor of prepared phrases. "I've been thinking," she began, her voice steady and resolved, "about how we communicate. I want to redefine our relationship." Her words landed like a declaration, a warning shot. The way her father's brow furrowed told her he was not prepared to relinquish the control he had held for decades. This was her rebel yell at a system that had long relegated her to an afterthought. She felt emboldened, her heart pounding, not with fear, but with fierce determination. Redefine? What does that even mean? He leaned forward, intrigued but ready to challenge her, the pulsing tension in the air redirecting into confrontation. "It means I refuse to be drawn into dynamics that only serve to limit me. I've uncovered aspects of myself you've overlooked." His surprise was palpable, dancing around the edges of irritation. "You think a few self-help sessions can change who you are?" Her stomach tightened, but she pushed through. "No, Dad. It's about recognizing I'm no longer that child. I'm not defined by your expectations or past mistakes. I'm creating my own narrative now." She noticed the slight quirk of his lips, an escalating mix of disdain and recognition. Was it possible that he sensed the shift, the fracture?
In the hierarchy that had governed them for so long? The conversation veered, moving from the defensive posturing into deeper territory. Each revelation, however small, drew Sarah closer to understanding how her relationship had been riddled with assumptions and pain. Each step forward also rekindled memories of feeling unseen, unheard. But with each moment, she was acutely aware of her own evolution, tapping into reserves of confidence she hadn't acknowledged in years. This wasn't just a meeting with her father, it was a confrontation with her past, an affirmation of her right to stand tall, to claim her space in the world. As the discussion intensified, she could sense the tide shifting, her father either beginning to crack under the weight of her words or digging in deeper. As the cafe bustled around them, a sense of electricity flared. Would he engage with her newfound perspective or retreat to his old ways? The answers hung tantalizingly in the air, bittersweet yet thrilling. Sarah steeled herself, the next words poised on her lips, ready to guide the conversation toward an even deeper realization. This was her moment, a chance not simply for reconciliation, but for retribution against the years spent stifled beneath his shadow. The first real challenge of her personal growth lay directly ahead, and as she prepared to push further, she felt the familiar stir of fear wrestling with an exhilarating promise of liberation. Would she be able to sustain the momentum? But what if he slammed the door on her revelation? Would this new strength crumble under paternal rejection? Time hung in the balance. What path would her father choose, and how would she navigate the consequences? The weight of those unspoken words lingered in the air, flaring tensions simmering beneath the surface. As Sarah held her father's gaze, the murmur of the cafe faded into a dull hum, allowing her thoughts to crystallize. She had come too far to retreat now. "You may find my transformation hard to believe," she continued, her voice firm, "but I've spent years unraveling the threads of your expectations. I've built a career, friendships, independence, all on my own terms. I'm not asking for your approval, I'm asserting my existence." He narrowed his eyes, surprised yet defensively skeptical. "Independence? You think you've achieved something genuine outside of this family?"
The incredulity in his tone was a challenge, a call to arms fine-tuned over decades of their fits and starts. "Not just outside of our family, Dad, within myself," she shot back. With every pulse of her heart, her conviction surged. "This isn't about denying my roots, it's wanting to grow from them without your shadow looming over every step I take." His brow furrowed, the wall of resistance slowly erecting itself between them. This dialogue demanded more than words. It required her to lay bare the undercurrents of fear and rage that had long been buried. Recognizing the unyielding pattern he embodied was liberating yet frightening. The prospect of rejection loomed, yet it was balanced with
a burgeoning wrath that had the potential to fuel her evolution. "I can't keep coming back here pretending I need validation from you. I'm learning how to paint my future, and it's vibrant, so vibrant compared to the grayscale you presented," she asserted, the metaphor spilling out in unexpected clarity. For a heartbeat, she registered the conflict in his expression. Was it a chink in his armor? Or perhaps just surprise, a flicker of something human that had buried itself beneath decades of pride? The answer eluded her, but her instincts told her he was listening, truly listening. "Do you think I wanted it to end up like this?" he replied, vulnerable yet defiant. "I did what I had to do to build a legacy. Did it ever occur to you that your legacy is one I reject?" Her words were steel against silk. "It doesn't have to be our choice, it's mine now. The story doesn't have to be written with you as the protagonist while I'm cast aside as a mere supporting character." A flicker crossed his eyes. Was it acknowledgement or irritation? She sensed a shift, an opening she dared to step into. The resilience building within her was no longer tentative. It was in full bloom, unyielding. Yet the fear of his response gnawed at her insides. "Then what do you want, Sarah?" he asked, his voice softened yet threaded with the underlying authority he always wielded. It was an invitation, but also a challenge. "I want to redefine this relationship based on genuine respect and understanding, not power and control," she stated, the finality of her words slicing through the ambiguity. "If we're to move forward, it has to be as equals, as two people willing to confront who we are, not just in relation to one another, but individually." The cafe around them continued its lively hum, but in that moment, the world shrank down to just them. Would he step into the quiet space she carved out? Would he embrace the hesitant yet hopeful bridge she extended? She held her breath, awaiting his response. If he rejected this new dynamic, would she have enough strength to walk away? She felt the weight of the moment, a reckoning poised on the verge of shifting everything she had fought for. "Then let's test this new narrative, shall we?" he finally said, his eyes piercing. "But know this, I won't back down easily." An exhilaration tinged with peril washed over her. Sarah's heart raced, exhilarated yet edged with uncertainty. She had opened the floodgates, but what would pour forth? The possibility of redefining their relationship danced before her, a tantalizing yet hazardous promise. But just as quickly, she pondered, had she truly prepared for the consequences of this redefined narrative? As the meeting drew to a close, the weight of anticipation transformed into something electric, a precursor of both liberation and the potential for heartache. The next step required courage and tenacity, yet she felt an unfamiliar lightness in her chest, as though she had unlocked a door to a future that was hers to shape. But the road ahead lay clouded with uncertainty. Would their newfound dynamic withstand the pressures of their past? Each word woven was a bridge, but what would happen if it became a battleground? The answers lingered, waiting to be discovered together. In the aftermath of that pivotal dialogue with her father, Sarah felt a seismic shift within her, a growing conviction that she could navigate the complexities of her family dynamic. She could still feel the thrill and anxiety from their encounter reverberating through her as the days went by. Confronting her past had been only the first step, yet it propelled her forward with a unique clarity she had never imagined possible. She returned to her classroom with a renewed sense of purpose. The energy in her lessons transformed dramatically. No longer confined to traditional pedagogy, Sarah integrated her journey into the curriculum, inviting her students to explore not only their academics, but their identities. She shared her experiences, not from the angle of victimhood, but as a testament to resilience, illustrating the power of choosing one's narrative. Every student responded differently. Some were inspired, while others reflected a hesitance she recognized within herself. Sarah embraced every moment of vulnerability in the classroom, creating an atmosphere where authentic dialogue thrived. Through these discussions, she felt empowered, a leader who equipped others to own their stories. Meanwhile, the tentative truce with her father continued to evolve. They communicated more frequently, their conversations slowly treading into the waters of mutual respect. Boundaries were respected, albeit tested. Old patterns emerged, yet were swiftly addressed. With Sarah acquiring the language of self-advocacy, her father's reactions, initially heated, gradually softened. It became clear to them both that the transformation required patience and reflection. Yet, with each dialogue, Sarah transformed her fear into strategy, negotiating her emotional landscape with intention. One Friday afternoon, she received an invitation from a prestigious educational conference. They wanted her to speak on redefining personal narratives in education, framing it around her own life experiences. The irony struck her. After years of feeling overshadowed, she was now poised as an authority on perseverance and authenticity. Without hesitation, she accepted, knowing this moment aligned seamlessly with her growth, a concrete manifestation of her objectives. The day of the conference arrived, and as Sarah approached the stage, the familiar buzz from the audience ignited butterflies in her stomach. But this time, the sensation was intertwined with excitement, not dread. She looked out into the sea of expectant faces and saw not just spectators, but a community eager to learn and connect. As she began to present, weaving through the fragments of her journey, her estrangement from her family, the struggle of embracing her identity, and her eventual liberation, the audience sat captivated. Her story echoed, reverberating through the hearts of many who had their own narratives tucked away. It was a cathartic moment, both for her and for those in attendance. At a climactic point in her presentation, Sarah reflected on the profound realizations of her journey. "It's our history that shapes us," she stated, "but it's our choices in confronting that history that defines our trajectories." The audience erupted in applause. Validation poured over her like sunlight breaking through clouds. Walking off the stage, she felt transformed, confidence solidified in her bones. Recognition had not just come from an audience, it radiated from within. The accolades bestowed upon her were not merely external validations, but affirmations of her hard-earned self-worth. Later, as she exited the venue, Sarah received several messages of appreciation from attendees who resonated with her story. Individuals navigating their own complexities reached out, eager to further collaborate and discuss their experiences. It was exhilarating. For the first time, she felt like she belonged, not just within herself, but within her professional community. Amidst the recognition and celebration, she felt a surge of gratitude towards her father for the painful conversations that had catalyzed her growth. They still had much to navigate, but the relationship felt distinctly different now, tinged with a sense of partnership rather than obligation. Days turned into weeks, and as winter melted into spring, Sarah found herself more confident than ever. The upcoming visit to her parents' home to share the news of her speaking engagement felt like a rite of passage. Sarah had built an identity enviably distinct from the one handed down to her. She had uncovered her voice, crafted her narrative, and was ready to embrace her multifaceted self, no longer hiding in the shadow of the past. As she prepared to step into her family home once again, anticipation mingled with trace remnants of old fears. But this time, they felt like unfurling ribbons on a gift, representing not confinement but possibilities. With each deliberate breath, she reminded herself of her progress. The woman she had become was not just someone standing on firm ground. She was a force of nature, ready to engage with the past on her terms, forging a harmony not only in her identity, but within her family as well. This is what personal triumph looks like: growth unyielded and celebrated. Now, don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel for more exclusive emotional stories that inspire personal transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the storytelling alive. Your support truly makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions or theories about Sarah's journey, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear how powerful embracing one's identity can be. Your engagement matters. Let's keep empowering each other.